Hello, everybody. Welcome to our SUMO community meeting. This is March, our meeting for March 2021. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are right now. And we have a very special guest today with us, Roman Testard. But before we go into our main topic to talk about Proton, I'm just going to remind you again to add your name in the wiki page. If you are watching this from Airmo or from YouTube, or if you're looking somewhere else, please let us know that you are here with us. And before also we go to the main agenda, I'm going to verbalize a few shout outs. I have the first one is for a few contributors who have been helping us during the Play Store transition, which is something that also we're going to talk about in this call later. So thank you, Paul, Christophe, Andrew, Danny, and Ankit for giving us feedback, like rapid feedback during the transition. It was super helpful and help us to, getting the feedback in a very quick time. So thank you so much. And then the second is for Devin and Matt C for making a comeback to the support social support program. So both of them are
Oh, I think we lost Kiki there for a minute. She may be having some connection issues.
and join us in conversation. So thank you so much. So yeah, thank you.
Hey, Kiki.
Moving on to the of the week, we have Romain here. So
hey, Kiki. Yeah. You cut out there for a little bit. If you want to go back and just go through some of those shout outs real quick, you cut out for a couple seconds there for about 15-30 seconds.
Yeah, I think I have verbalized my shout outs already, right? Just to make sure.
I think maybe we could the second batch I think we
okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, the second one is for Davin and Matt C for making a comeback to the social support program. So they were back then contributed to the Army of Awesome time. And just recently they requested an account in Converse Social. So yeah, they contribute back to the social support program now. So thank you so much, Devin and Matt. So yeah, let's jump into our main topic, which is the Proton project. Right now, we already have Romain Testard here with us. So I'm just going to hand it over to Romain to talk about Proton.
Hi everybody. Thank you. So I've got a few slides to share. Let me share my screen now. All right, can you see that? Yeah. All right, so I've got an update to give you today about our upcoming release 89. So you've heard of it as Proton probably. We're renaming it as MR1, Milestone Release 1. And it's going to be the first major release of 2021. And it's been a lot of work going into that. I'll give you a brief about like what it's about and what are the main changes that it's going to be including. So the goal here with 89 is really to deliver an improved user experience. So we want Firefox to feel more modern. We want people to enjoy using the browser more after 89. So there's been a lot of focus on a visual redesign to make the browser look better. And to do that, there's been really two areas of focus. So first one was really around like the aesthetics of a browser. So it's been a while since we hadn't changed like some of the core UI elements. So we really think about like colors, fonts, iconography, all of a grid that's used inside of Firefox, and then apply it to like all of the models, the door hangers, each one of the menus, the tabs, the toolbar, and so we've been making it like more modern to make it feel more like it's 2021, right? So first angle is really on like the pure aesthetics of a browser, and then the second piece is really focusing on what we refer to as delta moments. So all of these moments when like you launch a browser as a new user or even as an existing user, and you're going to be stopped in your process to do things. So you want to accomplish a task, and then the browser is going to be in your way, and it's going to be telling you something that you know, either in a way that is not great, or maybe the message is not really needed. So we went through a lot of the UI surfaces to try to make it look better, but also to slim down the menus, to make the labels simpler to understand, and also to minimize these interruptions, like some of the info bars were a little bit too generous in like frequency with which they were being displayed to you, and so really going through all of these UI surfaces to try to interrupt users just when it's really needed, and when we do that, we try to do it in a way that is as useful as possible. And the good news there is that we've been getting data on how the UI gets used. So in the past, there was very little knowledge of like what are the hot areas of the browser, where do people click or don't click, and so with that with that data, it really helped us understand like what are the things that people think, what are the things that matter to people, and what are the things that don't matter so much. So that we can really focus on like polishing the good bits and removing some of the bits that get underused, because really on the primary UI, with this you know, it has to be a signal to noise ratio in terms of like you know, if there are things that are not useful to most people, then you know, these things are just going to be noise added to their UI for these people, and it's just going to be adding confusion. So we try to rethink you know, about like these primary UI elements to make them as useful as possible to most people. Otherwise, just remove it if it's not useful. So I've got a quick demo to show just to give you an idea of what's on Nightly right now. And I'll give you after that the prefs if you haven't seen it before, but our preferences on Nightly to enable that experience. And so that's really the focus that we've been giving here. It's like, you know, the tabs start to look different. They've been redesigned so that they give a little bit more room to introduce some of the messages, so that the tabs can become more useful. Like for instance, if you're on YouTube here, and if you start playing a video, then some of that, I'll stop. You notice the playing indicator there on top. The mute button is simpler to reach to identify the tab that is being noisy. Also, if you go picture in picture, then you know it's telling you the status of that tab. So it's something that we want to start extending more as we go, so that the user agent really helps you accomplish your tasks more easily. Some of your other areas are like the models. So we're refreshing all of the models, and you're going to see more of that land. Not all of that is complete yet, but essentially we want to refresh all of these old style models so they look fresh and more aligned with the rest of the Chrome UI. Also, you'll notice, I mean, not the icons are not there yet, but we're going to be updating the icons pretty soon as well. And we've given a lot of attention to the menus. So now the application menu is smaller. We remove some of the items that got less attention to the users, and we try to make it like more concise, simpler to parse, better grouping, and some of the label changes there. So all of the panels, we refer to these as panels. Like all of these have been restyled. So you can go through that as well. And some of the permission panels as well. So you see that they've been redesigned. Now they're a lot smaller, more concise, simpler to read. Should help people understand like the implications of their decisions. And I think that's really most of the of the UI. I don't know if I'm missing something here. But yeah, so you can go into Nightly now. I'll be sharing these preferences after the call. But if you enable these preferences, you can get that same experience. And we're going to be starting a fox fooding exercise on April 12th. So Krupa is going to be helping us manage that. So you will see messages go out to collect your feedback. So it's going to be a way for you to reach out and tell us what you think about it, so we can consider some of the adjustments. Yeah, in the meantime, you can enable the experience with the prefs. You can raise bugs as a meta. I'm putting that here, and I think that's it for my part. So yeah, big shout out to. I mean, it's been a lot of work there from a lot of different parts of the organization, and we're hoping that we can complete that work in the next few weeks. So yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you, Romain. So is there any question so far in the room? Otherwise, I will probably hand it over to Paul since he has lots of questions. Paul, do you want to verbalize your own questions?
Yes, I had a well, first of all, thank you, Romain, for your presentation. That was really good and really useful. I must admit, I've been looking at Proton already and some of the features in it, and highlighted a couple of issues that I'm following up on at the moment. So it's a good one to follow, and it's yeah, just a few questions, and please appreciate these aren't trying to sort of take a dig at Proton. It's just really these are based on what we're going to see in SUMO from users, based on experience that we've had with other sort of UI refreshes that we've had in the past. So things such as the Photon, for example. One of them I think you covered off when Proton is due to land in release. So it's due to land with 89.
Yeah, that's our current target. Yeah.
Okay.
So you should see so it's a pref that is disabled by default right now. So you should see that enabled in the coming weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
So at the moment it's a pref and nightly, but very soon it will just be nightly. It'll just be what there is. Right. Okay. I guess one that's again, I think you've touched on is why we've made this change. Would I be right in saying it's just to modernise, reduce some of the delta moments, a visual refresh, but the vast majority of the functionality is still there?
That's right. Yeah, it wasn't a focus on functionality, and really the reason for doing it is to set a better baseline, because the is a lot of legacy in Firefox, and we accumulated a lot of UI depth, and it's really about like getting to good baselines so that we can start building on top of that, and so it's really the beginning of like a story where we can start building on top of that to start improving some of the flows, but really there was a need to do that. It's really like just like technical depth, addressing like a lot of that, so that then you can start building new flows that actually deliver, or build on top of a good user experience.
Yeah. And I guess I can touch on another question is, after 89, are there any more changes that are immediately in the pipeline, or is that yet to be decided?
So that's being planned right now. So yeah, there are changes in pipeline. It's really shaping up now, but we want to leverage the new experience of a browser to deliver new flows. But exactly what it is, it's still to be clarified.
Two more questions. I'll try to get through. Again, this is a question that we're going to get from users. Is there any way to go back to the old design, for example, through about config?
So I think when it ships, the pref is going to be there. I would have to check it. If it's technically possible. I would assume that yes. Is it going to be supported? Unlikely. So and it's just like the ongoing maintenance of like having to to keep and maintain different experiences, because like the old stuff is going to break at some point, right? So for sure it's not going to be supported. Technically it's probably a possibility that you can do that for a few releases. I'll check on that, but the intention is not to maintain it moving forward.
Yeah, so it might come out. Fair enough.
Right.
And I guess this is I'm really sorry for this question, but this is something that we're going to be asked. Why is compact density being removed?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be that. Yeah, so I think that's one of the benefits of working out in the open. So like since because I did open the bug, and it was an intention, and really the issues around like managing different versions of UI and maintaining it and making it great, whichever configuration you have in Firefox is hard. But it's true that like the early designs of Proton were like much bigger in terms of like the height of the tab strip, so that feedback on the compact mode really helped us like make sure that we optimize the tab strip height, and actually now we're really close to what it used to be, which means that we don't regress like viewport size. But at the same time, so like making sure that we do it right on the standard experience was super important, and it's true that originally we didn't really account for like this constraint, but at the same time, like the issue around like people that just will want to optimize the size of a Chrome just because it's something that really matters to them. So that's something that we will have to take into account. So I don't have like a great answer for that right now, but it's something that we're considering just because of the feedback. So there will be a path. Just need to work out the details here.
Okay, no, thank you very much for your time and your answers. Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
I got a question for you, Romain, and it kind of goes back to the reasons for implementing Proton on kind of more planning and like what was the reason and where are we going. I know that a split of Firefox users, the most vocal ones, the ones we hear about a lot, are usually power users, people that have been with it and been using it for a significant amount of time and have lots of customizations. So I'm kind of wondering if this Proton or these new redesigns and like moving the system over to the new views with Proton, is it geared towards power users, or is it more geared towards the general population of users, the majority of users who we're wanting to bring into the fold, get more familiar and give an easier experience to get more people on the platform?
Yeah, so I mean, we want to design for most people, right? And it's like I don't know if you saw the slide on like some of the data that we get on like what people do in browser is it really directs us like to design for like what most people do. So it is obviously a pocket of power users that we want to make sure that they are happy and they can achieve the task that they want the way they want it, and customization is a big angle to Firefox, and want to retain that for sure. But it's true that like most of the new users that come into Firefox, they need to feel like the browser is simple to use, and that it's not like a super geeky system that's just super hard to comprehend, and that you need like a PhD in computer science to run it, right? So it's really about like balancing both, like making the UI welcoming, simple to use for all of these new users, but also like the existing base of users who want the advanced features, make sure that we don't take away things that really matter to them, and like making changes is always super hard, and with Proton there's been some of these compromises that had to be made, and like for, it's like an example, it's like the view image info, like is a contextual menu on a picture. Very few people use it, but the people that do use it, they really love it. They tend to be developers who test their own websites. So we decided to remove the view image info entry just because it just adds noise to a contextual menu, which can't be like 50 entries long, right? But we open a bug to make it happen on dev edition, so that people that want to test their own websites, usually they use dev edition. So on dev edition, it makes sense that there are more like tech advanced features there. So yeah, but yeah, the balance is just super hard, and we've been having some of these tough discussions on Bugzilla for a few of the items just for that reason.
Gotcha. I have another. Go ahead, Justin. You were about to ask.
Yeah, just on the topic of kind of change, managing changes. Something that did change with Proton, I believe, is the removal of the view pocket list menu item from the library menu. And we've had like about a dozen users reach out asking like, where did the menu go? I don't know how to get back to Pocket now. And they depended on that menu item instead of it clicking that like, oh, I can just go to the site directly, or maybe I can bookmark the site or pin the tab, or just use another method to get there if they use it often. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are around finding opportunities like this to educate users about changes, so that maybe there's some sort of transition period where maybe view pocket list still exists in the menu, but it's grayed out and there's a little message that says like, hey, we're removing this, but you can access it these other ways. So I'm wondering, maybe not for this particular example, maybe that ship has sailed, but I wonder if there's other opportunities for major changes or more significant changes to like cue users who might be using those features, so that they're not surprised when a change happens and they don't know how to adapt to it.
Yeah, so one thing we're working on right now is like the onboarding for the new experience. So it's going to be an onboarding for existing users just to tell them, hey, it's not like you're still in the right place. We just made it better, and part of the onboarding, some of the considerations are around like conditional onboarding for user specific features. So that might be a path, but like for the big changes, like on the toolbar, we removed some of the items, like the sidebar button is not going to be there anymore by default. Same thing with the library and the home button. But what we've done is before 89, we shipped the ability to detect if that was something that the user was using before, so that it remains on the toolbar. So like existing users of a library button on the toolbar are going to keep it. So we for the things that we thought, where we thought that it would be like it could be like problematic changes for a large number of people, we try to address it this way so that people just don't lose the things that they care about. But yeah, the pocket list one is a good example, and that's something we're talking about with the Pocket team. But overall, I think like when we're talking about the evolutions beyond 89, like I think we need a better like bookmarking story, and it's hard for users to understand like what is a bookmark versus what is a pocket item, how discover the value of like saving your bookmarks to the cloud with Pocket, and just like the different concepts of like bookmarks versus Pocket is really hard to grasp. Also, like where does Firefox account fit into that? There's a Pocket account as well. So it's something where we should really making improvements. That's something we're talking about with the Pocket team, just to tell a better story. But yeah, it's not going to be coming for 89 for sure.
Cool. I have some more questions for you, just some quick ones, hopefully. So I'm curious about some of the other, you noted that there's a couple GitHub issues that have been in that are generating conversations about these changes to Proton and how we're going through them, or some of the, I guess what I'm asking is there any that stand out outside of like the compact UI density one that have been generating conversations around like the changes coming for Proton, any kind of high value ones that you've seen?
So yeah, like view image info, view page info. It's been some string changes, like copy link has been an interesting one. Like the current experience, like when you hover over a hyperlink and you call the contextual menu, it's going to be offering to copy the link address, which is like because like a link has like a label and an address, right? But for most users, think of it as a link, and like and then it gets into issues where you try to localize it as well. So UR tells us that like copy link is a lot more straightforward. Technically, copy link address is accurate, and so like people that care about that specificity, have been raising some of these issues on Mozilla or GitHub. But like copy link is something that's more understandable for the masses, and that's a reality. And we've got a UR backing it, so we're going to be going down that path. But yeah, that's one of the examples of small changes, but like it can people matter about these kind of things. So yeah,
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And this is my last question. We have the Proton Slack channel. We have the GitHub. If people have access to the GitHub, they can post comments and look through some of the changes that are coming through. And then obviously posting, on the support forum or reaching out to the community managers like Kiki or someone like myself or Justin, if there's contributors that have questions or suggestions or feedback. I feel that contributors are good power users to get feedback on some of these changes, specifically the customization pieces that we know that other power users may have issues with. So I'm wondering, outside of GitHub and Proton, are there any spaces that we can suggest or ways we can suggest contributors or users provide feedback outside of those channels regarding like the changes they're seeing come into Nightly?
Yeah, so it's going to be the Fox footing that's going to be coming, and so it's going to be like a structured way to provide feedback about the new experience. So essentially, it's going to be like 3 weeks of testing starting April 12th, where like along these 3 weeks, people who are Fox footing experience are going to be given directions about like, hey, please go, tell us what you think about the toolbar, look at contextual menus and all of these things. So that would be the place to be, and so I'll make sure that so Krupa is going to be managing the Fox footing exercise. I can connect her with you to make sure that I don't know what's the way to reach out to this community, but she should be using that channel to reach out to these people, so that they're part of a pool of people that gives feedback for sure.
Yeah, if you have Krupa reach out to Kiki and myself, we can get the comms going for the community and make sure that the community knows on the various places that we're at so that they can be included in the Vox footing as much as they're able to.
Cool, sure.
Awesome. That's all my questions. Thanks, Romain.
Thanks, JR, for the questions. Is there anybody else who has a question in the room?
Maybe one, if you can hear me.
Right, or yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Kiki. Romain, I was going to ask, is there, are you guys working, and hopefully it's a softball question, but hopefully are you guys working on anything that allows people to self-customize like those context menus you're talking about? Because for a long time, it's been an annoyance for me where you can't, for example, have you right-click a link and copy link can't be the first option. Instead, it's like open link in new tab or new window. It'd be nice to like kind of rearrange it on your own. But I don't know if you guys have any plans to adjust that.
Yeah. So it's no plans on that right now, and I don't know if it's like I don't know if an extension could do that, or if there's other ways to get there. But what I will say is like the interaction data that we got as part of this process to help us steer towards like what really matters was really eye-opening for a lot of us in terms of like how much people use contextual menus. And up until now, like contextual menus on current release feel very dated, and I think it's just because it wasn't obvious that it was like a high surface area. But I think that should open up to more for like improvements there. So here we're just doing the restyling I don't know if the right answer is customization for that, or if there's other ways to do it, but we should improve there for sure. Because I mean, I see a lot of discussions around some of the changes that we make, that really tell us that like people care about the menus, and the hotkeys on the menus, and the order in which things are getting displayed can break user flows. So yeah, I think it's a good point here. But, the issue is always around like prioritizing what has most benefit for the user, and we're going to have to assess like what's the best return on investment in terms of like where we focus efforts for providing a better user experience. Is it there, or like the bookmarks experience, or something else essentially? So, yeah.
Actually, I have one, like real quick, because I've been thinking about this, and I believe this is also something that community are like interested to know. So I heard a lot of comment about, and maybe this is not particularly related to Proton, but I know that like when we, like make decision to do this project, I know that we have been relying a lot on telemetry data. But then there's also like some people have been talking about like how for contributors, there are a lot of them who turn off the telemetry. So my question would be like, how do we ensure in the future that when we make changes, like we still accounted for those people who turn off telemetry, and like those people are still being heard in like while we can really know what they're doing in Firefox.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's a real problem, and another example of that is like the enterprise space. Like a lot of people use Firefox inside of the enterprise. Most people inside of enterprises, because they're managed by admins, disable telemetry there. So it's like a big black spot there, and like telemetry is anonymized. We only like understand that people interact with the UI. We collect very little, and we take good care to make sure that it's things that get used, and that's really like the input to make prioritization decisions for what's coming next on Firefox is really a mix of that telemetry data, but it's also like UR, and what's going on in market. So telemetry is not the only piece of information that's being used to make these decisions. The blank spot we have right now is really about like collecting feedback in a way that is really actionable, and we're in the process of fixing it through a new way to collect feedback from within the product. Like if you go to the help menu and you go to submit feedback, we're working on a way to collect that feedback in a way that's going to help us be better at acting there, because right now it's really hard to pass through that feedback and like identify like the big buckets of areas that people want us to optimize for. So I think that's going to be a really useful path to help us identify these issues moving forward. But yeah, agreed that like the telemetry is not perfect, and there's always a bias to like how you disable telemetry. Like people that care about privacy are going to be disabling telemetry, and for sure we shouldn't ignore their needs. So yeah, that's complicated, but yeah, that new method to collect user feedback should be helping us here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like I've just seen the overview of that tool just earlier before this meeting, so I'm really excited to see how it play out once we launch the project. So yeah, thanks Romain for like answer all of our questions and for coming into our community call. I hope this is not going to be the last time. So yeah, thank you so much for your for your time and your presentation today. Okay, cool. So moving on to the next topic, we have Mozilla's World Update. I don't have a lot of things here, but first thing first, I have good news for folks in social media because we just got our SUMO _ Mozilla account back, which is kind of funny because we don't actually lost the password, but we lost the email, which is like really weird. Like there's nobody knows what email that we use for that account. But now that we figure it out, we got the account back. So yeah, you're going to see me mostly tweeting from that account from now on. So we're going to use the account back for mostly community stuff, and we're still going to use the other Firefox support account for support related questions. So yeah, that's the first. And then the second one is that we have a new member in our customer experience team, who is Daryl. Daryl Alexis is going to be our new UX designer, and you're probably going to see her more in our platform. So please just say hi if you see her somewhere. So yeah, welcome, Daryl. And then next we have product updates, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to JR.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so let's talk about some product updates. We recently had Firefox for 87 get released, and with that release, we had the Smart Block feature, which was added to the extended tracking protection mode. It's basically a feature that blocks some scripts and trackers smartly to avoid site breakage. So if you haven't already seen that, definitely go check that out. And then there's definitely a blog post on it as well. Another change that recently happened that just went up was Mozilla Ion. The name got converted to Mozilla Rally. We have a couple knowledge base articles around that, and both spaces are actually going to still be up for a little bit longer while the teams are kind of finishing the transition in terms of the name change and what's going to happen. And I'm sure all are familiar with data that you can opt into collecting for Mozilla so that we can see what's going on, within the browser and some of the logs and situations to pull information out of. So that's something to keep an eye on. Mozilla VPN had a feature release this week. It was a pretty small feature release. We got unsecure network alerts and local network access notifications, both enabled within the app. And then captive portals was something that was also hoping to drop within this release, but it actually got moved to the next release because there was some issues with it that are still going through QA. Another update from Mozilla VPN is that we did have these big French and German releases coming on April 12th. Those actually got pushed back to April 28th. There's some basically subscription flows and some other information that is still getting updated on the account side of things and subscription side of things that needed to be completed before those releases. So we're still waiting on that and hoping that that 4/28 date will land and be firm, and we should see a whole bunch of new users coming off of that as well. So that's something to look forward to. And then for the 87 release for Phoenix specifically, there was the autoplay toolbar update, which was the only major update that they had for this release. So you can basically have some additional access and ability to use the toolbar in terms of autoplay settings for the various videos and media that you could have up within the Android app. So that's basically it for the product updates. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
Okay, so we have 1 minute left, and I have only one more topic, which is about the Play Store support transition. I believe most of you have already heard about this. So we are transitioning from the Response tool to Conversocial. And we plan to decommission the Response tool actually by the end of the month. But I think since the developer team are pretty packed with the search thing right now, search incident. So I think we're going to push that a little bit, maybe by next week or something. But yeah, the plan is still on. We're going to decommission the Response tool, and we're going to continue the Play Store support from Conversocial, just like social support. You can read the detailed announcement in the blog post that I linked in the agenda, just in case you have it. I believe you have. But yeah, that's it. I think we're in time. So thank you so much for coming into this call. And I'll see you next month. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much.